politics personally, and I would encourage all young people to go and dig deeper. There is so much about Africa that is hidden somewhere, that is being unveiled to us each and every day. And you are unveiling yet another episode that we didn't know about. And we believe that as we learn all of these things together, as future leaders, we will take Africa to the top. And for those, if you stay behind and you do not get on board on the plane, oh my God, you don't know what's going to happen. But thank you so much, sir. Right now we'll have a musical presentation by Identity. Let's give them a warm round of applause.
gentlemen, good afternoon. Today I've been mandated to do the scene setting for this plenary session. And having read a few definitions about what scene setting is about, I am told it's about creating as hard a situation for the panelists as possible in the discussion of the topic at hand. First, we invite Dr. Sam Donga, Director of the Global Business Roundtable. We invite Mr. Polani Temba, MD of Polar World Swaziland. We invite Mrs. Marina Bizavani, Trade and Investment Promotion Manager at LNDC. We invite Mr. Eric Mabuza, Chairman of the GBR Council of Chairpersons. We invite Mr. Stephen Monyamane, OSHEMC and HSTC Director, Lesotho. Today, the plenary session we are about to go into is titled Africa Arising, the emergence of future leaders determined to transform Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, a few centuries ago, a gentleman by the name of Cecil John Rhodes came to Africa from the United Kingdom. On his arrival, he looked at Cape Town, then he looked at Cairo. Then he had a vision and said, we can build a railway that can run from Cape Town to Cairo. This man had an idea that he could connect and create a railway that would run 10,689.6 kilometers. Engineers say that if it was to be an efficient network, it would have run through 9 countries, namely South Africa, Zimbabwe, Zambia, Tanzania, Kenya, Somalia, Ethiopia, Sudan, and then into Egypt. It would have charged, just merely by crossing those 9 countries, in today's terms, 377 million people. It would have created jobs in 9 countries. It would have created other industries that would have flown from this, such as industries like the transmission of power, which would have run parallel to the railway network. It would have created infrastructure for the transmission of raw materials, such as iron ore, from one part of Africa to another. Ladies and gentlemen, this man came with a vision, and a vision for Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, my mandate is to ask questions. So basically, I have 3 questions that I would like to pose. The other day in a conversation with my sister, Ms. Maseru, she said to me, what is the problem of Africa? We had a little discourse and we asked ourselves, is not the problem of Africa that our perspective has been that we are Africans? That we have looked at ourselves as people who are merely confined to a particular geographical territory, and we have forgotten that we are global citizens. We are members of the Global Business Roundtable, but we restrict ourselves in terms of the perspective of what we can change. My second question is, whose mandate is it? Is it a collective mandate, or is it the mandate of individuals? In a documentary called Men Who Made America, they highlight that America went through a phase where the entire economy grew, but that was on the backbone of the efforts of individuals. Are we as Africans taking responsibility at an individual level for the future of our continent? And lastly, my last question to the distinguished panelists is, who is an African? How do we define who has the mandate and who has the vision and the passion to take Africa to the next frontier? Ladies and gentlemen, at this point in time, I would like to hand over to my co-facilitator, Ms. Mpinani Class, to take you through the proceedings of today. Thank you.
Excellencies, good afternoon. Hopefully the lunch went well. With no further avail, we will continue. And I think we do know that in South Africa, this month of June is Youth Month. And more than anything, I think it shouldn't only be a time to celebrate young people, but a time to get to truly believe in who we are as young people, and also for those who have gone before us also. And more than anything, I think what I've noticed is that sometimes we, even as young people, but we can already start making a difference right now. Your 20s, your teenage years, and even why not start investing in super kids. But anyway, we're focusing on future leaders right now. And in the session, our sub-theme is Africa Rising, the emergence of future leaders determined to transform Africa. Howard Thurman actually said, don't ask what the world needs, ask what makes it come alive. And I'm sure that our panelists sitting right here are definitely doing what makes them come alive, and in that sense they are feeding to the need of Africa. They will feed to the need that will place on them today, and also we'll get to let's open our minds and open our hearts to get to know what we'll learn today. And I would like to welcome our first panelist for today, for this session. And this is Mrs. Zabani. This is Marina Zabani, who is the head of, or at least the Trade and Investment Promotion Manager of the Lesotho National Development Corporation.
Thank you very much. All protocol observed. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon to you all. In 10 minutes, when I was given this topic, I thought about me, what makes me me as a leader, as a Lesotho, as an African, as a global citizen. As an investment promotion official, when I was invited to be one of the speakers, what came naturally was 5 sectors of opportunity for investment in Africa. I wanted to come in and just provide an overview of where the investment opportunities are, to unpack the opportunities within each sector. As the week went by, I realized that we're talking about a new breed of leadership here, to exploit those areas of opportunity. These opportunities have existed decade after decade after decade. Why have we not exploited them efficiently and effectively yet? So what we're talking about in this summit, future leaders, I've learned a quote that has transformed my life, that leaders are people that will take people from here to there. We're talking about investment. We're about a paradigm shift, a change to be brought about by transformational leaders. If you are here in the morning session, you will remember that we referred to transformational leaders, and not just about investment deals and transactional leaders. Leadership is influence. I learned this from one of the leadership coaches, John Maxwell. Because everything, he says, rises and falls on leadership. The crisis for Africa, I believe, is more of a leadership crisis than a poverty crisis. I believe God has given us all the resources that we need to live as Africans. Not just to live, but to live luxuriously, if we were to exploit them in the right manner. So instead of talking about investment opportunities in Africa this afternoon, I would like to highlight what I call timeless values that have made me who I am today as a leader. Because I look at myself as one of the current leaders and also a future leader. Let me start by saying leadership is influence, like I highlighted earlier. Youth, as an important force for change, given the inherent characteristics of energy, must be given a chance to play a critical role in Africa's development. Like I said, I've learned these simple but timeless values that I hold very dear, which I believe can release a new breed of African leaders that will usher the continent to its real share of development. We thank bodies like GBR for their recognition of this fundamental truth about young people as engines of change and growth, and for providing platforms such as this. Can we just give it up for GBR? The first timeless value, the fear of the Lord, that's the beginning of wisdom. We cannot talk about developing new leaders and not talk about the fear of the Lord. Unless we raise a breed of leaders that fear God, we will not have the capacity to handle the dispensation of wealth that God is ushering the continent into. His Excellency Maseru earlier attested to the fact that God is building his kingdom, and it shall be recognized by his people. Wealth is power. Wealth is power, and all power belongs to God. Once you get the wealth in your hands and you're in control of the wealth, you know you've got the power. Power, at its best, corrupts. At its worst, kills, unless you know where it belongs to. So let's learn to give all the glory to God where it belongs. Mentorship. I've learned that leaders are not born, they are developed. There can be people who are born with certain sets of skills. There are people who are charismatic, others they just have it. They just walk into a place and they command a presence. There are people who are not charismatic. We have all different giftings, but leaders are developed. For you to make the right impact, you need to learn something and to know something, and that can be developed over time. Learning from those who have gone before us gives us just the edge we need to be people of influence. Interacting with people that are making an impact and learning from them the principles that make them who they are. I'm talking to future leaders in this forum. I'm sure that some of the current leaders are looking among us to see and to know who they can give the mantle to when they move out or when they go out. May they find among us people that are ready to receive the mantle and to take the continent to the next level. Preparation. Champions spend more time training than actually performing. Let us not underestimate the power of preparation. Leaders are released when opportunities come along the path of those that are prepared. Opportunities come every day in every form, in every fashion. But if you are not prepared, you will miss them on a daily basis. Never underestimate the power of preparation and getting yourself trained. Knowledge is power as well. Let's move to the next one. Exposure. Don't settle for local championship. You are the best in your village, but maybe not in your country. Maybe not in your continent. Maybe not outside there. Don't settle for local championship. Move outside of your sphere of influence. See what others are doing out there. You will be shocked. But don't just end with being shocked. Learn from them. Exposure can usher you into a realm where you begin to identify gaps in the landscape that only you and your mix or set of skills can answer. And once you find that position and you plug yourself into it, you are released into leadership because you'll make an impact. In conclusion, our quest in leadership is not to get all the money we can, but to make a difference we can, knowing that money follows purpose-driven activities. Africa, arise. We are who we say we are, not who they say we are. So what you're saying with your mouth concerning Africa is what Africa is, not what they say with their mouths. The correct vision on Africa is defined by Africans themselves. This is why I often say we don't really need aid. We need to trade because the world needs what we have. Thank you.
And of course, something that I did take from her is do not settle for local championship. I think sometimes we love being a big fish in a very small pond. Very small pond. So Lesotho or Maseru, there's Swaziland, there's South Africa. Network, meet new people. Moving on to our next panelist, we are going to introduce, well, I am going to introduce Mr. Stephen Munyamani. May we clap for him as he comes in.
Thank you. You allow me to just take this one. My name is Stephen. I'm a Munyamani Junior. And it's such an honor to be here, and first of all to be given the opportunity to talk in front of people of different colors, high, and people from all different walks of life. When I was given this topic, initially it was still our first world, Africa first world. And I thought, I don't believe in first world. And then as I was listening to people talk to them, particularly the HOD of future leaders, I was panicking because I was like, geez, I'm going to be very controversial. And then when I had the Honorable Minister of Planning and Development talk, then I got a bit of rest because he's talking about it. So, what we'll do is I'm just going to read a few small comments because I actually had to go search. What is first world? Right? And then it says, is the concept of the first world first originated during the Cold War, involving countries that were aligned with the United States. These countries are largely democratic, Western, and capitalistic. And I thought, we're not Western, we're not capitalistic. So first world is something else. And then secondly, it says, today the first world is slightly outdated and has no official definition. However, it is generally thought as a capitalistic, industrially wealthy and developed countries that align with the United States after the Second World War. I think what I've said is boring. But where I am is here. That's all the different definitions. But then I want to come across in a different way. How about we talk about the developed Africa? Not the first world Africa, because I don't aspire to be first world. And then I looked at 4 sectors which are very dear to my heart, because I don't want to talk from paper or anything, I want to talk from my heart. And those 4 things is water, energy, shelter, and education. And basically, these are basic human rights. Yeah? We all agree? Good, thank you very much. Now, water. We all know that Lesotho has one of the most valuable, precious mineral, which is water. But what's the point when we have water in abundance but controlled by another country and not having access to it? Energy. Shall we follow the Western way of doing things, which is polluting the earth, impacting our environment, simply to feed our big appetites of energy? Shelter. The moment you see high-rises, you think, exciting, brilliant. I've lived overseas, and I've seen all the high-rise and different things, right? But they're all high-rises, yes? And they have a high consumption of energy. Not only that, they are pushing people to move away from where they originally were, down to where the high-rises are. Simply means there's a stretch on the resources wherever those things are. Let's move on. Education. Amazing facilities with state-of-the-art ICT that can accommodate thousands of students. We think about thousands, right? Where do the thousands come from? They leave the rural areas, they come to where education is. Yeah? But I thought, all the above is amazing, but requires a lot of human settlement, rapid industrialization, and urbanization. This will have a great impact on our culture and our environment. So allow me to be a bit controversial. I'll not raise a lot of questions, but I'll provide a few answers, which I have tested practiced, implemented, and I must say, I'm making money from them. Okay. Water made accessible at all locations, at all times. Whether we like it or not, it is extremely costly. I'll use the context of Lesotho. I know we shouldn't be Lesotho champions, but I'll use the context of Lesotho. It would be extremely expensive for Lesotho to have network water as the UK, as America. Why don't we find a way, which is there, it's a containerized unit, that actually takes water from all sources, either be rivers, boreholes. By the time you go through the process, on the other end, you can drink water, just like any clean water according to the standards of WHO. So I've answered the water question, right? Because there's rivers from every single village. There's streams in every single village. And then the other one, it's energy. We have abundance of wind, abundance of water, abundance of so many things. Why don't you go, forget about the normal connections of electricity from a massive power station connecting all the lanes, which is highly expensive because transmission, distribution, and connection is extremely expensive. In Lesotho or most African countries, you'll find there's a patch of 100 houses over there, a patch 10 kilometers away. But there are natural resources in that area that can provide energy. And it's a hybrid system, either be wind, solar, human waste, or anything. So instead of focusing on trying to be like America, England, or Germany, we find solutions that will provide a good quality of life the African way. And then, the other one, which is very simple, we're crying about stock theft and all that, is taking it further and saying, tell you what, let's find solutions in those different areas. Why? Generating gas using animal and human waste. That takes you away from trying to dig more wells, finding gas, war in Iraq, and so on and so forth. Yeah? And now from animal waste, people in the rural areas, wherever they are, they can have access to gas. And guess what? You can have your own little pipeline. We are building houses now, but they're extremely cold. We end up having to rely on air conditioners to heat them up. And that is freezing. But this can provide central heating systems by locally available sources and something that all Africans can build. Fortunately, those are the things that I've built. I'm going to build them myself. And then finally, there's the concept of house. We think high-rises using concrete blocks as the perfect way. But we all cry all the time because it's freezing. And the summer is hot, right? If I go to my Mohoro back there, in winter, it's fairly warm. And in the summer, it's fairly cool, right? So now, you can move that and make it more modern, make it more enjoyable to live in, and make it a 5-star, right? How do you do that? Find locally sourced material, build something, and you remember now you have your own form of electricity generation, which means we meet in the standards of energy efficiency. We're meeting the standards of renewable energy. And now, the same house can hit the carbon neutral status. This means there's no carbon emissions going out of the atmosphere while you live in that place. And secondly, the cost of having it as solo, it's unbelievable. So what am I trying to say in all these things? I'm not trying to say we should move back. I'm trying to say, look what the world is doing. They're actually moving away from all those things and trying to find solutions that will take them back to a place that is sustainable and harmony with nature. We are very privileged as Africans that we are not exposed, we've not yet destroyed, and we've not yet exploited all those things. Now we can develop on a good foundation, not only a good foundation, but learning from the mistakes of other people. So we don't have to go through those expenses anymore. And now I'm saying, these solutions are not going to come by Western people or so-called first world. They're going to come by us as Africans doing them because we understand the topography, the geography, the environment, and the culture of our nations. And now talk about developed Africa. This thing can take us a step further, where we take principles and education whereby you find locally sourced material to make these things. And then finally, as a joke, and throw it in there, you can actually use these things as new way of advertising. This is generating electricity during the day, and at night is advertising space. You will see in a minute. Wow. So in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm trying to say to you is, I like to bring a bit of controversy in everything that I do. But in all these things, I can tell you, there's ways of generating and becoming better. Let's now become more innovative. Forget about what other people have been doing. See what they've not done, how can you do it better with what we have? Thank you very much.
What we need as the world, and as he says, making money out of it. I would like to welcome another panelist who is a future leader. He is Mr. Polani Tende, coming all the way from the Kingdom of Swaziland. May we welcome him also.
I prefer to hold this one. Thank you ever so much, my sister. Good afternoon, Your Excellencies. Future leaders from the Kingdom of Lesotho, future leaders from the beautiful Kingdom of Swaziland, future leaders from the great rainbow nation of South Africa. You are a beautiful people. Good afternoon. May I take this time to say thank you ever so much, Future Leaders Lesotho and your leadership, for hosting us. You've really been great this far. And thank you for the wonderful meal. Africa Rising. Africa Rising, the images of future leaders determined to transform Africa. Well, for today's discussion, I've decided or purpose to focus on you as an individual future leader. Knowing your identity, knowing your roots, knowing your belonging. Who are you? The strength that you have by virtue of knowing your identity. Let us take our faith. We are Christian. Christ is at the center of everything that we do. The question I have for you, future leaders, how can understanding and living according to the Christian faith take Africa's future leaders to greatness? How can understanding and living according to our Christian faith take us to greater dimensions? Let us look at other religions that we have besides ours. There's something that I want to draw you towards. You know, the Jews and the Muslims are known and believed to be great business people ever. And do you know that they derive these values from their religions or their religious perspectives? If we can look at the Jews, they are married and enormously successful people. In the US, they are the smallest in population, yet they are not called the minority. When you look at the blacks, they are a majority, but they are called the minority group. Why is it so? It is because they command wealth. And now God made a covenant with them. God made a covenant with them. He signed a contract with them. It is why they are successful. But then the question is, how about us Christians? Future leaders, are we aware of the greatness in us? Are we aware of the promises that God has for us? Do you understand the meaning of the scripture? I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. Surely nations you know not shall run to you. I will give you treasures in secret places. We have everything as Christians. Everything we have. Maybe let me simplify this so we can understand very well. Mr. Msalego, our convener, normally he wakes up every morning at 4 for his prayers. He keeps his relationship with God alive. He claims his promises through the prayers. And what happens to his business in return? Nations he doesn't know come running to him. He has eaten and dined with kings, queens, presidents of so many nations. If you can look at GBR today, where are we? At Sakumloto, companies are rushing for his signature. Have you ever seen a situation where an investor will bring in an opportunity, a business opportunity, and also bring funding and say, we want to partner with you? Why is this so? Because there is grace that is upon him. So future leaders, we are great people by virtue of our identity. We carry a rod that brings forth water in the desert, that opens closed doors. Whether you're in business, you are at school, or you're a professional, we are meant to rise above the rest. Well, ethics we have talked about. Let me just share something from my heart, because we have been given 10 minutes only. I would like to say something about the power of sharing. Future leaders, if you want to grow, you need to learn to share information. Information is power. And you can never be a success alone. It is not possible. You need to team up, you need to club, you need to syndicate. Trade ideas, share wisdom with one another. It will take you far. Nobody knows everything. Nobody. Lastly, may I share the story about the power of sharing information as I take my seat. In my country, one successful businessman decided to share information with his neighbor whom he didn't know closely. But he gave him tips on how he made it in life. In return, his neighbor would give that very same information to a young man who was his fellow neighbor as well. Now, 3 years later, it so happened that